We are here to serve the people. Power must not be abused. We should not misrepresent the people. And that is why my involvement is not partisan. It's not a war between the executive and parliament. I even quoted this when I intervened the first time, that there is separation of powers, but they are supposed to work harmoniously to serve the public interest. But when things are brought before us, we must put law, national interests, and facts, plus conscience, to make a decision. I quoted the law, and I don't need to repeat it. It is just said. It says, before an expenditure is made, then one brings the supplementary appropriation for consideration. I quoted the Public Finance Act, and the minister did quote the section they rely on to come to us. Section 29, subsection 6, that any expenditure discovered at the end of the financial year to constitute excess expenditure shall require approval of the National Assembly and shall be included in the supplementary appropriation bill. But this is where the confusion lies. One moment it appears like an excess expenditure, another moment is like we are bankrupt, we don't have the money. Nothing is clear. And there, if you look at subsection 7, it says that if approval is not given, so it is our responsibility to approve. But the law is even anticipating that if approval is not given, the public officer or vote controller deemed responsible for the loss of such public fund shall be so charged, etc., etc., etc. So here, this section is not to be relied on to bring what we are now considering. Because what we are now considering, we are being told that we need to expend, but we don't have the money. But then, where did the money go? If environment, go back to what was brought before us. It mentioned even environment being relied on. I've quoted that if environment was relied on, then you don't come up with a deficit that you need to finance. It means that something has been left out. Another institution has been left out for another budgetary agency. So I am simply saying that what the law says, and is very clear under section 32, that any unpaid expenditure shall be paid from the appropriation for the next financial year. So essentially, when the estimates were brought for 2019, whatever was unpaid expenditure should have been anticipated and brought into that. Where that fails to happen, you can still come up with a supplementary appropriation, and then we will have the time to scrutinize what is brought before us. We will look at each item, and the committees can do the same, so that we know that at the end of the day, what we have done is on the basis of the fact of the matter and on the basis of the national interest. So the reality is that this National Assembly is being subjected to measures that is not allowing this institution to defend its integrity. It appears that we are divided. It appears that some are against something else. A house divided is a house that cannot have integrity. It's a house that cannot stand. And that is precisely the situation of this National Assembly today. We may have seen eye to eye on many things, but because of the circumstantial measures that are utilized, we are not seeing eye to eye. And it appears that some are against what may essentially be in the national interest, and some are for what is essentially not in the national interest. It is for you to decide. For me, the law is the guide. My conscience is also my guide. The way this estimate is brought before us is not proper. It's not timely. It does not allow us to do our work. And a committee was set to look into it. Eventually, this National Assembly saw that the work of that committee would not be accepted, and it was rejected. To come again at the 11th hour and claim that it is this National Assembly that did not have the foresight to do what was right, and now it is rectifying its mistake, not by quoting the Constitution and the Public Finance Act, but simply telling us and the nation that certain expenditures are so urgent that if they're not done, the nation will collapse. Then what we were doing 3 months ago, 4 months ago, why didn't we see what we are seeing now? Why the 11th hour? Honorable Speaker, I will not be a part of those who will make such a decision. I have taken my stand, and it is for us to suffer the consequences of not doing what the Constitution says, what the law says, and what conscience and the national interest dictates. Thank you.
Thank you.